So a lot of people always have talked about Sean Combs and Janice Combs' relationship. For those who don't know, Janice Combs is Sean Combs' mom. She raised him at a very young age when her ex-husband actually got unalived in a pew-pew incident, and it left her raising a young son on her own. During this, she had many struggles, and she actually had a modeling career and then was a teacher assistant. But a lot of people believe that Janice Combs may have been exploring some other career opportunities, and that this energy may have groomed Sean Combs to the man he is today with some of his, I guess you could say, exploratory and lifestyle choices. And it is very true that Sean Combs and Janice Combs have a very strong connection. It's undeniable. Sean Combs has often talked about his mom. We've seen him give her $1 million for her 80th birthday. Also, he bought her a Bentley. There seems to be a big connection between him and Mama Combs, as one might say. So let's take a look at her birth chart and see what resemble some of these traits of maybe her having such a strong connection with her son, and also the influence that she may have had in his upbringing. Besides just being his mom, there's always an area of spiritual, intuitive, and also traumatic lessons that come in these types of relationships. So first of all, Janice Combs, we don't know her birth time, but we do know her birth date. She was born December 21st. In 1940, making her 85 years old. And I will say, seeing her run around the courthouse, she looks good for an 85-year-old, and she's very active as an 85-year-old. So I give her props for that. It's also sad that as 85 years old, she has to go through all this that her son is putting her through. I mean, I would be like so concerned about not just my son, but also my own health at 85 years old, going to court, having to worry about, is my son going to be in jail for the rest of his life? So the first thing that stands out when I look at her birth chart is she is a sun in Sagittarius. She also has a moon in Virgo, which is very interesting with that moon in Virgo. I feel like this moon in Virgo continues to kind of show this family connection. So we also see that Sean Combs has a moon in Virgo as well. We see this correlation a lot with parents and children, especially when these parents and children have a strong connection. We see that energy of the same moon signs quite often, or sometimes the sun and the moon almost being opposite of each other, or them having a direct correlation, meaning you have an Aquarius moon and a Libra sun. I have a Libra moon and Aquarius sun, kind of like that. Another thing that stands out to me right away with her is her Chiron in Leo. The Chiron in Leo to me feels like there was definitely some energy around maybe her leadership, maybe leaderships of her past, maybe people who had direct harm onto her, and then somehow this cycle continued to continue. Also, I feel like with the Chiron in Leo is that she was like forced to be the sole provider in her family. Like she was forced to be the one who was the leader to raise her son, by coincidence, right? By circumstances, by the husband passing away in a very untimely death, by being a victim of crime. And then we see that that crime continues to play in this energy. And as we also see that the Leo is very dominant, it's also very assertive. It is also very solar plex heavy as it is relating to the sun energy. Another thing that stands out with her chart and this Leo energy is also her Pluto is in Leo. The Pluto in Leo makes me feel like she had a lot of strong potential of wanting to be a rising star. She also probably had a lot of potential of wanting to be somebody who was out there, who was creating change. Like she is probably someone who was like, you know, what was my life's purpose? Like, was my life's purpose to be a single mom, and then she realized my life's purpose is to raise this child, and she tried to raise this child to the best of her ability. And I could see how something like this, everything that she's been through with this court case, because we have to remember this court case not just affected Sean Combs, it not just affected the victims, but it also affected his family. And I could see how this was probably very devastating for her, and also how this Pluto in Leo made her think that she failed him in some ways, that she failed who he was. But she loves the fact that her son is famous. She loves the fact that her son has all the intention. She loves that. And if it wasn't her, it would have been one of or one of her children, because that is her only child, and that is the way that she saw this energy, and the way that she worked with her leadership energy was basically raising a star. Unfortunately, a star that has some very complicated and also has done some very horrific things to people. But he still was very successful, and she takes that with a lot of pride, and she acknowledges that. Another thing I want to talk about is she has a Mercury in Sagittarius and a Venus in Sagittarius. The Venus in Sagittarius makes me think that she could have been a little naive in energies of relationships, and also she could have been very exploratory in areas of relationships. I feel, honestly, when I think of her, I think, and her energy is with this Venus in Sagittarius, is her relationships may have exposed Sean Combs to too much. Also, what I think about with that energy of the Mercury with Sagittarius is I feel the Mercury in Sagittarius feels like she was a very strong communicator. I also feel like she was a lot of a messenger, that she helped Sean become successful because she put him in areas to become successful. Like, she wanted that success. She wanted that fame. She wanted that energy of movement. She also has a very nice stellium in Taurus. In this Taurus energy, she has her Jupiter, her Saturn, and her Uranus. Now, we do not know her time of birth, so we do not know the house placements. But I will say, the contradiction of having the Jupiter and the Saturn together makes me feel that she was able to create success. She was also able to create energies of movement that stand in firm with her relationships, probably with her son, and also with the energy of material items, wealth, and also big extravagant things. Like, we acknowledge that. We also acknowledge how that rebellious nature is affecting those relationships of those grand things, such as the Uranus. The Uranus is almost like a spitfire, where this connection is being disrupted, where this Jupiter is being disrupted and it's being put out there more. And then also the Saturn. So obviously we see this correlation of how the Saturn and the Jupiter is almost like a contradiction. It's like a polar opposite. It's like two energies pulling in that movement of Taurus, a very fixed sign, a very structured sign, a sign that is like very in its ways. And we see how both of these ways of movement has led her into areas where she was probably very nervous about the wealth of not just her well-being, but also her son's, because we have to remember her son is the one who is basically supporting her, right? Is the one with all the extra things, with all the money, and not just the family, right? It's because of him. She also has a Mars in Scorpio. The Mars in Scorpio lets me know that she is very much centered on movements of energies that not all of us see. And it could be in areas of passion, and it could also be in energies of movement. And while we don't really know her, I'm going to tell you, the earlier Janice, the young Janice, was very intense. She was an intense individual. She knew how to shift the energy of a room. And what's also interesting with her is that her and Sean Combs both have the Saturn in Taurus. So could it all go away? We'll see.